צדיק רבי חיים פינטו, מלמד בית השם צדיק רבי יעקב בחצירה, מלמד בית השם הוראות צדיקים, מהקדוש ברוך הוא בית השם, bless each and every one of צדיקים, צדיקות, בig ברכה והצלחה, בסייעתא דשמיא גדולה, מקדם מובך את כל מזכי כל, may we all בית השם taste of redemption in our lives, amen, כן יעצון בעזרת השם. You know, רבותיי, every single year, when we arrive to this week's Parasha, there's a big question, we all can come to a realization, that there's something very interesting of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu organized the Torah and how he organized the mitzvot. Last week's Parasha, Parashat Yitro, we read about Matan Torah and about how Bnei Israel stood around Har Sinai while Har Sinai was completely lit on fire, that fire that came from the sky. Bnei Israel heard the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bnei Israel were completely full of excitement and full of love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where they saw the creator of all creators. Their emunah was at a place that was uncomparable. Following this incredible event of Matan Torah, we would think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would start to get into detail about the most important mitzvot that exist within our Torah, and more specifically, the most important mitzvot that exist as a Yehudi, as a Jew. But we see, right after Matan Torah, the Torah opens up, Torah opens up with the entire Torah, with the entire teaching of slavery, where all the laws that refer to slaves and who can be a slave, how long to be a slave, all apply in this week's Parasha. So the question that we had is, right after the Torah, why didn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu talk about Shabbat, Tefillin, Achdut, Brit Milah, Chagim? Why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw it as such importance out of all the mitzvot that you can possibly get into, to choose the specific mitzvah to open up the teaching of the Torah with? This is something that seems to be a little bit strange, especially knowing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that la'atid lavat, future generation, these halachot won't even be applicable from the first place, because Avdut, Baruch Hashem, does not exist anymore. We're not 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago, where slaves were something that was a common market. In today's day and age, Baruch Hashem, this does not exist. So why HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in the Torah? The Torah is endless. The Torah has no time period, has no time expiration. The Torah is applicable for every generation at any time. Why did it open up right after Matan Torah with the mitzvot of the Avdut? So now, Botai, in order to understand this, we have to understand what really the Torah is trying to explain with this mitzvah. We know about that the Torah opens up with not just teachings of any slave, but it opens up with the teachings of Eved Ivri, Ki tikneh Eved Ivri, a Jew that committed some sort of theft, or Chas v'Shalom committed some damage to somebody's property and did not have what to pay with it. Beit Din would take him, sell him as a slave, and with that money that they would collect, they would pay whoever had that damage. The Torah says that a Jewish slave cannot be in the position of a slave for longer than 6 years. Where the Torah says that after 6 years, the master of the slave needs to get up and needs to tell the Jew, go out, you are free. And the reason for that is because the Torah holds that every single one of Bnei Israel are like kings. Each and every one of us are princes in the eyes of the throne of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Melech Melech Melechim. We are his children. You cannot keep a prince in slavery or under some sort of control that is not HaKadosh Baruch Hu for longer than a certain period of time. The Torah says that what happens in the case of scenario that this Jewish boy or Jewish lady decides that she no longer wants to be free, where she wants to continue under the slavery and continue living under her master or his master, and continue to serve as slave of man and not as slave of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah shows a big amount of anger and resentment towards this person. Where the Torah says a person that the owner, master, needs to take this man, put him on the door, mashkof, doorpost, take a nail and make a hole in his ear. Why? Because that ear that did not listen properly in Aseret HaDibrot where it said, Ani Hashem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, I am your God, I am your king, deserves to be punished and deserves to have a sign of taking upon himself slavery that does not have to do with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's slavery. Maybe we can say, Rabotai, that the Parasha of the Avdut is not for the master of the slave. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that the master of the slave will be something that will expire in a matter of time. Maybe we can say that the entire Torah of the Avdut is for the slave himself. To teach every single one of us. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Bnei Israel, He gave Bnei Israel a crown of Malchut. He gave Bnei Israel choice, freedom, to not only achieve all what exists in this world, but to go even further, to try to achieve what happens in Olamot Yolim, what a person could bring after 120 years. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this week's Parasha teaches us, Rabotai, you are freemen, you are princes. Don't search for a master to be enslaved by. And this is something, Rabotai, that unfortunately we see that exists in this generation. Maybe more than any generation. Slavery. That slavery has never been more present. Not in the way that we think of slavery having an owner, but a person that is searching for his own master, where we are enslaved ourselves most of the time. How many people are enslaved to their ta'avot, to their desires? How many people are enslaved to their tzara? The fact that a person cannot stop a specific act or a specific sin or a specific desire, he's enslaved to it. How many people are enslaved to their work where they cannot find time to study Torah, they cannot find time to prepare for Shabbat, to be with their family? How many people are enslaved to things that they're addicted to? How many people are enslaved to their anger where they lose their entire world from? Abotai, we learn from this week's Parasha, each and every one of us need to search for places where we have been enslaved for our own desires, for our own yitzhara, and come to the awakening that being a slave is not the path to be, and bringing ourselves to a point of a shichur, a freedom, a redemption. And this is, Rabotai, something that we all need to think about when we pass B'at Hashem this upcoming week. Especially that it's the last week of Shavavim. Rabotai, we need to all free ourselves from all our evil inclination, from all our sufferings, from all our bad, but it needs to start from us seeking where we could be freed from all the bad, and as a result of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be yad b'yad. Abba le'itaer b'seinu. So may HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'at Hashem give us the merit, give us the ability to free ourselves from all the slaveries of this world, and B'at Hashem come to a place of true freedom, where we will be able not only to perform the will of Kudsha Berichu of HaKadosh Baruch Hu with ease and with happiness and with light and with shefa, but be able, B'at Hashem, to achieve all this, the physical and material world with ease and with the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives.